How can we make this cool, transparent, emissive grid material to use on virtual production screens? This is nice because it shows a grid, has a little emission to remind you that the screen is actually glowing, and it's transparent so we can see through it. Let's go ahead and make this material in Unreal Engine now. Select the content drawer and then select Add. Here we can add a new material in Unreal. We'll label this Grid LED. Double-click on Grid LED. First, in order to create an emissive material in Unreal, we need to add a vector parameter. Right-click and type parameter and select vector parameter. Label this Emissive Color. In addition to a vector parameter, you also need a scalar parameter and a multiply node. So let's look for scalar. Label this Emissive Strength. The emissive strength goes into the bottom of the multiply node, and the color goes into the top. And then we can drag this into emissive color. Change the color to something fun like pink, and then change the value of the emission to something like 4. Now we have an emissive shader, but we need to add a texture and a grid. In order to do that, texture, and place a new texture sample node. For the texture sample, select the folder and search. Type 1 by 1 in the search bar. If you don't see it, just go up to all, and then eventually you'll see right here 1 by 1 grid. And then if you select this arrow, it'll apply the one that you have selected in your asset browser. We also need a texture coordinate node. We also need one more scalar parameter, so type scalar. Label this one grid size. And we need a multiply node. This multiply node allows us to put the grid at different sizes over our material. Then plug this into the UVs. Right now, we see the value isn't affecting this because this isn't plugged into our shader yet. In order to have this go into our shader, we want to add a power node and a multiply node. The power node is so we can decide which parts of the grid will show, and the multiply node is so we can change the transparency. So first, search for power, drag the RGB into the base, and then the base of this will go into one more multiply node. Search for scalar, and add one more scalar parameter, and label this one Grid Opacity. This will go into the bottom of this multiply node, and then the power will go into the top. And then finally, we can connect this up into the opacity. But you might notice that your opacity is grayed out. If that's the case, select your material, and then make sure instead of opaque for the blend mode, it's translucent. This will automatically connect that opacity. There's a few things that we still need to fix. Right now, we see no grid. So if I change my grid opacity to 1, suddenly I'll see this here. I can also change the grid size. For example, if I use 5, this will have a grid pattern that will look like this. We can also change the power here. So if I go down to 0.4, you'll notice it gets very thick. And so you can adjust this as you like. 0.7 is a little thinner. And the same with the emissive strength. I've changed this back down to a value of 1. And you can use all of these parameters. I'll move these pieces around so it's a little bit more laid out. So that's it. So now you have a really nice color grid pattern that is transparent. Then don't forget to save your material. That's it. We have a parametric texture material that will work for LED screens, and we can change it based on the type of screen or the colors that we need. Hopefully this helps you make an emissive texture that is transparent in Unreal Engine. Happy 3D modeling.